Hello and welcome back to the Entertainment Vortex. Today we are at Brennan Theaters watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is one I've been really excited about ever since it got announced. Obviously the first Ant-Man movie was hilarious. Huge surprise for everybody. I know going into the movie, I was thinking this was going to be lame, but it ended up not being. If you're interested in that, watch our review for the original movie. But Ant-Man and Wasp, what we came to see, this was awesome. Not only did they take the humor and crank it up to 11, I think they learned a lot from Thor Ragnarok and they're really cranking up the humor, but they also have a really good, touching, emotional story. And I think that's important because if it's just all humor and no substance, it gets boring. If you have humor intermingled in between a story that you actually get invested in, it makes the humor that much better. Because you're in these tense, emotional moments and then something funny happens, making it that much funnier. That happens a number of times during this movie, and I think it adds to it quite a bit.
So after Infinity War, there are a lot of pieces that need to kind of be put back into place to start figuring out where some of the roster that wasn't part of that film, where they were at and what they were doing. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a perfect example of that. It goes in and explains a lot of what was going on in the background as far as things that were happening leading up to that massive event. Why Scott was on house arrest and what was going on during that whole process as far as figuring things out and where he is currently residing now that this huge event has happened. We won't dig into the story, not a spoiler review, but as far as the actual story is concerned, it's a very interesting tale that's very heavily peppered with humor, which is something that I'm always down for. The Guardians films are some of my favorites in this series, so a film that has a lot of humor, I'm definitely down for that. Paul Rudd puts in another great performance. He is definitely a comedy heavyweight at this point. Anything you put him in is going to, make some good box office money, and he is someone that, puts butts in seats for the right reasons.
Performance-wise, this wasn't really anything super hard to do in this movie, except for a couple scenes towards the end. It wasn't really like, Oscar-worthy performances or anything, but I will say this. Comedic timing is something that they all have in spades, especially Paul Rudd. He does some things in this movie, especially in the first half of the movie, that are just absolutely hilarious. Many, many times during the movie did you have the entire theater laughing out loud, and that's always a good sign.
Once again, it does seem like they're adding some different musical flares to these things. There are a couple of different songs in there that are actual popular songs that exist in the real world. I like that they're doing that a lot. They're taking cues from those Guardians films and making audio cues based on music that people recognize, which is always a good thing. I love music and I love the way that they're using it in films now. It's something that I definitely appreciate as a moviegoer.
The villain in this movie was very interesting, very unique. Marvel is finally getting better at fleshing out their villains. We've had a number of movies in a row where the villains are not just mustache twirling and one-dimensional. It's like they finally listened years later to the fact that their villains were all worthless and their heroes were amazing, and they're finally giving equal treatment to both. The villain in this and the areas and ideas surrounding the villain were really good. I enjoyed it. While I didn't necessarily like some of the choices the actress made playing the villain, I did enjoy the villain, what the villain was doing, the story behind the villain, and each time that the villain was on screen.
They are doing a great job with making villains that make sense and have legitimate motivations. It's something that I appreciate because being a Marvel person, I know that there's a massive rogues gallery out there to choose from, and I love what they're doing now, rather than just putting people on screen who are a direct and exact foil to their hero, and making somebody that's believable and understandable in their wants and their desires, and not someone who's just evil for the sake of being evil. As per usual with Marvel, the visual effects were stunning, especially in Ant-Man. It's an interesting way to do things, just because there's all the growing and shrinking, not just of people now, but of items, and it adds for an interesting watch and for hilarity to ensue.
I'm gonna give this movie a 8.5 out of 10. Super fun, super hilarious, nothing groundbreaking, but absolutely a good movie.
I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I felt like it was better than the first Ant-Man movie. I feel like they're really doing great things with comedy in this series now, which I really appreciate. It does have some weight as far as the way that things are moving as far as the MCU is going. I'm really interested to see what they do with Captain Marvel and what we see in that next Avengers film.
If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We give you multiple videos every single week. And we have t-shirts available if you're interested in those as well. Those are available down in the description below. We hope you'll follow us into the Vortex. We'll see you next time.